Welcome back to the Purple Political Breakdown. How's it going? How's your day been? I am streaming right now, so this is why this is a video I made from that stream, and I'm reacting to Jubilee Democrats talking about anti-Biden, pro-Biden. Keep in mind, Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential race by now, but I'm curious on the points being made, and we'll see where we go. Anytime they talk about Biden rerunning, I'm just going to skip it because he's not. But other than that, it should be a very interesting conversation with the Democrats going up against each other. And of course, our favorite person in the favorite lefty, Destiny, is on this video. So it makes things so much more interesting. Let's see if Destiny can keep his sanity in this debate. Let's dive right into it.
Room challenge. I don't think you'd pick either one of them to help you get out. I feel like we need to get more faces into the program.
The issue here, though, is if we were in the escape room, all of the young people would be sitting in the corner watching the old people trying to solve the puzzle and then judging them for it. The issue is young people just don't vote.
Good point.
Welcome back to Middle Ground. My name is John. I host the Radical Empathy podcast. We know you requested this episode. You've seen the pro-Trump versus anti-Trump Republicans Middle Ground. I will moderate.
I watched that pro-Trump versus anti-Trump Jubilee, and the pro-Trump people got cooked. I'm playing NCAA 2025 while I watch this. It helps me focus because I be getting bored. But NCAA at 2025 is pretty damn good, not gonna lie. Hey, even though I talk politics, we here. You know what I'm saying? We here. We normal people. It doesn't have to be all toxic all the time. We like sports. We like anime. I don't know why my One Piece flag keeps on falling. We love to work out. I'm trying to get a six-pack back, bro.
Great. Today's discussion between pro-Biden versus anti-Biden Democrats. Our first prompt is, Biden is a moral man. If you agree with this prompt, step forward.
I think that the definition of moral is it's a little arbitrary because saying somebody is a moral man, we all have morals. My morals may not be the same as somebody else's morals. You know what I mean? I would say that I think Biden thinks of himself.
I'm going to skip around because I don't care about if Biden's a moral man. I'm going to be honest, I don't care. So can I move to the next question? I wish they kind of put the questions here so I can just skip through. Yeah, I'm skipping through. I don't care. Biden's a moral man. Oh, here's the next one. I trust the Biden administration. Now this one's interesting.
Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get back into it.
I trust the Biden administration. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to trust the Biden administration. It's, can any of you guys think of lies? Or I don't know, people bring up things like they misled us with Dr. Fauci or something weird, but I've been following the Biden administration pretty closely and I haven't seen any examples of them trying to purposefully mislead us. May have gotten something wrong here or there, but that's why I trust the Biden administration. You got to trust somebody at some point.
I think with everything that's been passed from the IRA to the America Rescue Plan to the infrastructure bill, they have a purpose to pass big policies that are helping American people. The one thing I don't like is statements like Kamala Harris that go against the Biden administration when it comes to Israel and Gaza. I don't like the idea that at the UN we're saying that we're looking for a humanitarian pause, but then sometimes going back and forth on that. I trust them, but I just think that sometimes it feels like we have contradictory statements within the within the cabinet. And I think that's something that we should hold them accountable for. But other than that, it's
Obviously, this is an incredibly
Fair enough.
complicated issue, and it's one that has to be handled with a lot of political care. It's true even for Ukraine and Russia as well. And I think that the Biden administration has straddled the line pretty well on both of those issues, way better than I would have honestly expected them to. So.
Yeah, I think the Trump administration caused a lot of doubt in our institutions, and it's bled over to the Biden administration a bit. So I'll be curious to hear what these guys who don't trust the Biden administration have to say.
Yeah. Well, let's bring in our disagreeers.
All right, nothing of substance.
All right, Devin.
Now let's get right into
Raise
it.
your hand. Go for it.
Okay. You shouldn't trust anybody in the government ever. Certain times they might have a policy that's good, but no matter what, if somebody offers them.
And here we go. We got the lefties. Hey, man. Y'all hear me criticizing cook Trumpies on here. Y'all about to hear me cook some lefties too. We cooking evenly across the board, ladies and gentlemen. So what did she say?
All right, Devin, raising your hand. Go for it.
Okay. You shouldn't trust anybody in the government ever.
You shouldn't trust anybody in the government ever, man. Man, all governments are bad. Every single one of them. You know, I don't care that they, you know, provide me education. I don't care if they provide me all my needs. I don't care if I'm living in a very privileged lifestyle, not right now compared to back in the day. All of them are corrupt. Yeah.
Sometimes they might have a policy that's good, but no matter what, if somebody offers them, hey, $2 billion, they'll take it. A Biden administration cannot.
If someone offered. So any politician is automatically corrupt, man. Because you just gotta offer them $2 billion and they'll do whatever you want. God damn it.
Not be trusted. Anybody that supports genocide cannot be trusted. Anybody that supports taking away, you think that he's for our rights, but he's really not. They're trying to ban regular cars. They're trying to ban regular planes by 2030.
They're trying to ban regular cars and regular planes. What is banning regular? What? What is she talking about? I agree. If someone advocates for a genocide, don't trust them. I agree. It's crazy. Yeah. No, nobody should advocate for
They're literally stripping away our rights, just like the Republicans are trying to.
Yeah.
Do you trust?
One, I don't know if the getting rid of. I know we're moving towards electric vehicles, but I don't know how moving more towards these more advanced cars and planes or taking your rights. I don't know. Man, it's so funny when lefties talk like this. Like they're, and it's the most like privileged lefties that be saying this too. And all I ask is you guys go live in a different country without like a strong government. Tell me how it works out. Tell me how it works out. Please tell me. Come on. Please tell me.
What do you trust?
Devin, just to Cody tease out what specific things.
Yo, I couldn't hold it in. Yo, there's nothing. Okay. That's not funny. That's not funny, man. It's not funny. There's nothing wrong with trusting in God. Oh, it's not funny. But I really didn't expect her to say that though. Not at all.
What specific criticisms do you have like that are unique to Biden as opposed to just all?
Let's see. He speaks of COVID that was created. Fauci was part of that, like he was the AIDS.
Fauci did not help create COVID. That's a lie. FBI says that COVID began after a lab incident in Wuhan, China. Although there is no reason to believe that was created as a bioweapon, there's evidence that gain of function research was being conducted. That's when scientists purposely make a virus more contagious to anticipate how it will evolve, allowing them to make better treatments. I don't even think that's 100% provable either, from my knowledge, because I don't know if you guys watched I think it should be on this channel, the Fauci hearing. They're still trying to figure out like what is going on regarding that too.
Scamdemic. My grandmother and several other people listened to him and took the vaccine and died. So yeah, I don't trust him after my grandmother, who's never been sick ever.
I'm just gonna move past.
Her life got a COVID vaccine and died.
I think
hundreds of millions of people in the United States receive COVID vaccines under the most intense safety monitoring in U.S. history.
if you're going to bring up the AIDS pandemic, then I'm going to bring up the.
Fauci. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I would say that I will give Biden credit on the federal emergency against monkeypox.
Keep giving him credit. Why the
Well,
population?
you just said.
People. That's all he's doing is the population, baby.
You
Look
just
up.
said that.
Yo, this is what I'm saying, bro. Trumpies and lefties are two sides of the same coin, bro. They really are. Like she's saying that this is population control. Oh my god. Our country is doomed. We got lefties and Trumpies. Oh, I don't want to call them lefties. I want to call them wokies and Trumpies, man. Oh, wokies and Trumpies, man. Wokies and Trumpies are going to be the death of our country, bro.
You know,
no virus has ever been isolated ever in life. It's all been a lie since
Let's let him respond.
Yeah.
No virus has ever been isolated ever in life. What does that mean?
Yeah,
We
you're
gotta
right,
move
but
on.
I'm just
Can I go real
saying-
quick? Just
Chill.
very
I'm
simple,
kinda
very
cooking her
quick.
a little too much.
My thing is very just I don't really trust any administration entirely. I think that is a mistake. I think it's important to just be constantly using discretion, no matter if it's your people, if it's the other people. I think we like to, gallivant this idea of American exceptionalism and like we're so cool and we do it. And it's like, Obama might have been a good speaker. He also vaporized 30,000 civilians. You know what I mean? So I don't really trust any particular administration. I know.
You can be skeptical. That's fine. I'm not mad at it. To drone strike during the Obama administration, according to expand during his tenure, killed 342 civilians. Said he tried to ensure there was near certainty civilians would not be injured or killed in strikes. You can be skeptical. I think that is a very fair thing to be.
That's a little bit more general of an answer, but yeah, I don't trust a lot of them.
Personally, I don't trust them to protect us from what happens if Biden loses. So like I'm not pro Biden specifically because I don't see enough being done to protect us if Republicans win. Like there's Project 2025 that they're planning. They have all these plans and I don't see them talking enough about, okay, well, they have these plans. So worst case scenario, here's what we have planned to stop that if it happens. I personally I'm a person who likes to have fail safes. Like I don't see that happening. I didn't see that with the Supreme Court failing to codify Roe versus Wade for how many years? How many years? Why was that not?
I don't understand. Is the Supreme Court codifying Roe v. Wade?
Sorry, Congress.
You mean Congress?
Yes.
Well, they didn't have the votes. Take 60 votes in the Senate unless you get rid of the filibuster.
But I'm saying though, like we had all of the time. We had so many times where we were in power as Democrats.
We don't have 60 votes in the Senate. We can't pass a bill.
Why?
Because
No, I
that's
mean,
how the
why don't
fun-
we have the 60 votes? Why?
Like people are see, this is the issue, right? People are critical. They are immediately upset. They just blame the institution without understanding why things happen the way they happen. Because all he has to do is ask like follow-up questions in regards to these things. Like she goes like, why didn't we have enough votes in the Senate? Because we just didn't. Like, what do you want Biden to do about that? Do you want Biden to go like, all of y'all vote the way I want? Isn't that a problem? Isn't that exactly what we don't want? Isn't that against checks and balances? But
are we not
People aren't
working
voting.
harder?
People are not voting for Democrats.
But why are we not working harder to reach out to those communities? Why are we not listening to the communities as to why?
Because
they're
we're
not?
sitting here saying Biden
Do you
supports
think?
genocide.
Yeah.
So as a disagree, I just want to give my objection as why I disagree, take that opportunity. So I do agree with a lot of what you said, John. Some of what you said also, Rebecca. I do believe that we have to have discernment. And as citizens, we have to really start to engage in our civic duty of like holding people accountable. And not only holding people accountable, but also running for these offices, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not a monolith. We have very different views. We're a huge country. And at the end of the day, we need to have more people participating in this process. And I don't ever want to get too comfortable and too complacent. That doesn't mean I inherently distrust them, but I don't necessarily trust anybody blanketed. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, I think when it inhibits you from voting or being active, then you're just not participating. And that to me is also unacceptable.
Yeah.
But I do think that there has to be a discernment. And I chimed in at this point, one, because I'm a disagreeer and I wanted to give my input at that and take that opportunity. But two, when it comes to not voting, as you guys said, that is why I did not come and sit down and say that I trust the Biden administration, because I think that we have this exceptionalism in this. And we're waking up because of the things that's happened in the last 5 years to, we're going to get somebody in office and they're going to take care of us and they're going to resolve everything. And at the end of the day, I don't care what you believe, whether you're pro, I don't even care if you're a Trump supporter. We have to get out of that mentality and we have to be active.
Yeah. The people like screaming, please save us, President Trump.
Yeah. Right.
Like we're no better or worse if we think that a Democrat is going to come in and rescue us from 100%. All of that.
I think the biggest issue is just culture war.
We're no better if we think a Democratic president's going to save us from that. Then okay. I think the point she's trying to make, I believe, is that we have to be more involved in the community, which I agree with. So simple as that.
As far as I'm concerned, I think the transfiguration of this political process and conversation about it, which of course I'm sure even in the 1980s was heated at the dinner table, right? Mm-hmm. It has turned everybody into like, I'm on this side, I'm on this team. And I just think that is fundamentally like antithetical to like critical thinking, to thinking for yourself, and to working together to build a better country.
Right. I also think you have to be really careful when people talk about trusting or distrusting the government. I think a healthy level of skepticism is important for everything. But when people say things like, I don't trust anybody that works at the FBI, I don't trust anybody that works in this administration, I don't trust anybody that works at the FDA, there are like millions of people, depending on how local or federal you want to get with the government, that are employed by the government. Most people are just trying to do what they think is right. For sure. Most people that are employed by the government trying to do what they think is right. This idea that all of them are like kind of like colluding against the American public to harm you in some way. Not that I don't think anybody's expressed that view exactly, but I know that there seems to be some undercurrent where people will like distrust anybody that says that they work for government. Like most people are ordinary citizens.
No, for sure. And I have family in politics too, so I would agree with you. But it's just the sense that I guess a better way I would answer this question is I don't implicitly trust them just because like they're Biden's administration. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's fine to be skeptical, but it's always, I mean, why are we making this complicated? You meet an average person, you don't immediately trust the average person. Like, just keep the same energy and have faith in the institution, but not immediately trust that everything they're giving you is okay, right, and truthful. So all of that is fine. That's perfectly fine. It's just when you have these absolute opinions where it's all good or all bad, which is a problem. That's the problem.
You said
and I just don't pass.
My grandmother, I want to share, my grandmother was the first Black NAACP president in her era in New Jersey. She's worked with a lot of different presidents. She got to meet Obama. She took a lot of pride in seeing Obama elected. And I've followed her because like I said, she was one of the first Black NAACP presidents. I study history. I study her beginnings. I still study where she started. And I've seen what the Democrat Party has come from then to now, and I don't like it. I've always been pro-Democrat.
Trusted her.
I mean, I trust her because she just wanted equality. She fought and worked with different presidents so Blacks can get jobs, so they can have the same opportunities. And she had a doctorate. She would talk her shit, but she had morals that she wanted equality for everybody. She wasn't taking money like, oh, somebody's big pharma, whoever's giving me this money, I'm gonna support this, or support genocide, or support this. She had in her heart that she wanted equality, and that's what she stood for everybody, primarily people of color, but for everybody. She wanted everybody to have the same rights. And I've seen the administration just go down, the more we trust them.
Can I ask you, what keeps you a Democrat?
Like I said, I'm starting to lean to the independent side. Okay. I like the original views of, not the original, because the Democrats and Republicans switched at some point. Yeah, but when they spoke of being pro-freedom, being pro-rights, and actually seemed like they meant it, I grew up studying history because of her place in politics and seeing how the administration has went from 60s, 70s to now. My grandmother, I had pictures of her and Coretta Scott King. She was really, really a part of the movement. And to see what the Democrat Party has become, I want to stay a Democrat because of her work and continue her legacy, but I just don't like what it's become. I hope that I could be a change, hopefully carry her legacy on in some way, eventually, but it has to be a collective effort. It can't just be me.
I think that one of the biggest issues I have with trusting any administration is that there are people, because I work in the nonprofit spaces, so I do work with some local politicians and a lot of people who are just in nonprofit in general. The people who are really trying their hardest to make it better quit so quickly because the system is so fucked. So that the people who are
the system is so fucked. I'm curious to hear, like, why is the system fucked? What does it mean for it to be fucked? What is the system being fucked had to do with your effort, all that stuff. I'm very curious to see, like, what is truly preventing you, because just because it's hard, because what it sounds like to me is it's hard, but if you kind of can articulate it for me, I'm here.
are more corrupt, they just continue to grow and accumulate power. And but that's a broken system that makes me not able to trust the administration.
Does that challenge what Steven's saying, where it's like this, everybody who works, or most people who work in government are trying to do what they think is right?
No, I do agree with him, but most of the people who are still trying to hold on to those morals, they quit very quickly. There's a high turnover rate. I think that most people who are working in government are not people whose names that you would ever know. You know what I mean? And they're not going to rise through the ranks and achieve the power that's going to fix everything, because the system is so fucking broken that it beats them down. I've seen it happen to so many people, so many good people who really have those good moral values, who are like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the system from inside. And they're just so broken down by the end of it.
You asked me earlier, why do people not vote for Democrats? Why do you think they don't vote for Democrats?
I think that people feel forgotten, and I don't think that they feel protected by the Democratic Party. I know a lot of the people of color that I've talked to feel as though they are spoken over by white Democrats, and that kind of alienates them from a lot of the Democratic Party, because a lot of the Democratic Party, even though we are more diverse than the Republican Party tends to be, they still feel spoken over and they don't feel represented. And so it's like constantly choosing between.
So let me get this straight. These are terrible. I'm gonna be honest. These are terrible reasons not to participate. Because I'm not represented. I'm getting spoken over. Like, what? You don't participate in politics because you feel like other people are. I'm trying to okay. Let me try to. Let me because I feel like these are weak responses. Let me hear her answer again.
A lot of the people of color that I've talked to feel forgotten, and I don't think that they feel protected by the Democratic Party. I know a lot of.
They feel forgotten and they don't feel protected by the Democratic Party.
Of the people of color that I've talked to feel as though they are spoken over by white Democrats, and that kind of alienates them from a lot of the Democratic Party, because a lot of the Democratic Party, even though we are more diverse than the Republican Party tends to be, they still feel spoken over and they don't feel represented. And so it's like constantly choosing between.
Democrats are the only ones that advocate for, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm very critical of the left, but in terms of advocating for like minority stuff, Democrats are the only one who does it and goes out of their way to do it. Like, what do you? I don't know.
Like one Republican and a Republican wearing blue.
But
That's what I've heard.
Do you think they noticed the results, like record low Black unemployment, record Black entrepreneurship under Biden?
I think that they noticed some of those results, but
I don't think
when it's not helping them with their personal like communities, it's very hard for them to say like, yeah, Biden helped me, when
They
they're
apply for
still
jobs, not Biden. Biden
Especially if they're not
No.
super tuned into policy.
Exactly.
Like a lot of these numbers, because we're looking for them, we know that there's a historical like unemployment rate for Black Americans now under Biden. And we have one of the lowest unemployments that we've had, I think it's ever, yeah. And so I think a lot of people aren't tuned into the statistics of it. I think they go based on perception. I think this is just human nature.
Don't you think they see that though?
I don't think on a day-to-day that people can really quantify it when they just have a run.
So I wonder if he's gonna ask this follow-up question. So if the reality is everything is getting better, but they're not seeing it, then what are we supposed to do about that? I'm curious to see
The mill job or anything.
I don't want to take away from the fact that the Biden administration has contributed to that, because they absolutely have. Many of social justice initiatives, and this will be very brief. But I also want to say, as a result, as the Black community always has, and their resilience, they saw what happened with our last administration, and they picked themselves up by the bootstraps, because inherently we are entrepreneurs. It was illegal for us to learn how to read, and a lot of people don't realize before the Slaughter Acts, we actually had former slaves that were in offices, legal offices.
Yes.
And then that is, and that has a lot to do with when the party switching started happening in different acts. So at the end of the day, much as we have always done, we saw what was happening and we decided we got to come together. We have to galvanize.
So doesn't that enforce the point that doesn't that counter the point that was made earlier that the people who are complaining that their representation is not being met? Isn't your point a strong point to say that that's not a good enough excuse? You should constantly be pushing as a Black person for a better way of life. So your non-participation is not a good reason. Doesn't that counter that point? Because how am I going to complain about things and I'm not doing anything to fix it, right? You know what I'm saying?
And we've done that like never before. Not to discredit the Biden administration, say they haven't contributed, but Black people have done that for themselves.
We're not
as
giving
a
Biden
result.
credit.
But that's also another thing that I've heard, particularly women of color say, like, that turns them away from the Biden administration, is that, like, not only do they not feel represented, but they're so fucking sick of everybody coming in and like expecting Black women to fix it. Like that's just what
that's such a, like, who do you want to fix it? Like, I don't. These are terrible. These are terrible excuses. These are terrible excuses.
We can apply that to a lot of things. I think that there's some things that you said that I agree with, and there's some things that this gentleman says that I agree with. And I still can't take a seat because I'm very like facts-based. And the thing is, even though what I said I stand on, I still can't dispute the fact that it is at an all-time high under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
I just wanted to provide more context. But the things that both of you have said, I've actually agreed with to an extent.
Let's move on to the next prompt.
I try to be pretty fair.
We need somebody
No, I
more
like it.
progressive
I like it.
for
You do a good
president.
job.
Will the agreeers please step forward?
Yeah, I personally am of the opinion that we need somebody more progressive for president. I am
Hell no, we don't need someone more progressive.
aware
Hell no.
of the attempt that
Terrible
Biden has
idea.
made to try and cross party lines. That's always been who he is historically. He has always tried to be friends with the guys on the other side and try and get them to see reason. I don't see that being effective when every year the conservatives get more and more conservative, and the Democrats, from what I have seen, just continue to kowtow to it and be like, okay, well, we'll give you an inch, they take a mile. Okay, we'll give you another inch, they take another mile.
Yeah.
How many?
On and on it goes.
On and on it goes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, and I think that like what she was saying earlier about believing in accountability, this is my personal belief in accountability from the Democratic Party. I think we need to take a harder line and be more progressive. Like they always say that we're progressive and insane and that we're going to try and take away their rights. But what have we done?
I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I completely agree.
I'll be very clear. Progressive, hell no. In terms of, I don't want a progressive nor a crazy right-wing nutcase. The thing is that at the end of the day, you have to appeal to the people in the middle. And the thing is, the left is fractured, where there's like more center left people, and then there's like really crazy radical lefties, right? So that separation is fracturing the Democratic vote and the Democratic support. And because of that, it makes it hard to compete against the people on the right because all of them are Trump cultists. So when it comes down to them, they don't really need the support of the middle as much as the left does. So you're putting yourself in a worse situation by having a radical progressive lefty in comparison, because but I think one thing you can argue, actually, I'm thinking about it, and this is why I hate the two-party system, is that what would happen, similar to what happened in the right, is that the people who are center right will fall in line because they're ideologically captured shills, and that's probably what happened to the Democratic Party too. Like, they're a radical lefty, but the lefty is still better than anybody in the right, so all the people in the center left would also vote for that guy regardless. Like, for example, like Gavin Newsom, which I don't know if he's radical left, but he has a lot of leftist ideas. But everybody in everybody in the center left will all support him. So I think you can very much argue that it probably would work very similarly to what happened with Trump. The only thing that I will say as someone in the middle is that I hate both ideas. Like, both. I don't want either. So I prefer someone more moderate, someone more rational.
So not to be this guy, but I'm LGBT. So as a result of that, over the past few years, I have seen the culture shift so tremendously in this bigoted direction. And obviously, the president is not in charge of the culture of a country, but I think it's a part of the equation. You know what I mean? It's a part of the equation, and I suppose it's just very hurtful. I remember last Pride Month, I was so angry all month. I didn't feel any sense of connection and community. And I'm not going to be like dramatic and be like, and I was scared because I'm a tall white guy. Obviously, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. But the point is, that sucks and that breaks my heart. And I'm a very progressive person. I'll be the first to say it. But yeah, I think we need someone to get in there and kick ass and change a lot of things.
Change a lot of things. Yo, these people are. The more and more I hear about people who talk about politics from the crazy left side and crazy right side, these are the most spoiled brats I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think these people have these idealistic world they want to live in, not realizing how good they have it living in America. And it annoys me. It absolutely annoys me because you have so much opportunity to do so many good things with your life and for the country. And there are so many things we can do to continuously grow a better country, but people on both sides just want to do these radical changes, thinking that that's in the best interest of everybody involved, when it's not. Most of the people don't want these radical left-wing LGBTQ changes. Most people don't want these radical right-wing religious changes. People don't want these things. People just want a better economy. People want more jobs, more security, more safety, and being able to enjoy their life. They don't want these freaking things in the first place. It pisses me off that this is where we're at because of freaking two-party system. We've been like reinforcing these crazies on both sides. It's so annoying. Sorry for my rant. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so tired of hearing it. I am tired of hearing it. I get why Destiny went crazy, but that's not unexcusable, Destiny. It's still not okay to be as unhinged as you become, to be honest.
I think, and I know that is such a minuscule, facet of everything that's going on. But I guess the reason I plant my flag there is because it affects me so personally. And I've felt that culture shift during Biden's presidency, because when I was in high school during Trump's presidency, there were people saying slurs to me all the time. It's fine. It wasn't fine, but you know what I mean? It was something I got accustomed to, but I haven't seen the needle switch back since Biden became president. I've seen it go the exact opposite way. And I'm also not the most informed person when it comes to policy or things like that. I'm simply talking about from a cultural perspective, from what I've felt, what I've seen, and what I've read.
Get off
and
the
so
internet.
With that in mind, we need someone with fresh ideas.
Like, the thing is and I hate saying this, but the Republican Party, when they're in power, they go balls to the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Careful. You think they goes balls to the wall. They're just loud. Careful. Because Biden has passed so much policy. It's just it's whatever.
Why don't we go balls to the wall to protect? That's another thing.
I totally agree.
Where I was like, why are we not working harder to protect ourselves from if there is a Republican?
What do you mean us? I'm not lefty. What do you mean us? What am I talking about? But in the sense of being anti-Trump, I will acclaim us, even though I'm not a Democrat. What do you want Democrats to do? Wait, January 6th? Is that what you're asking? Let me chill.
Republican presidency, because you know that is exactly what they do.
Absolutely.
That's why it takes so long for Democrats to try to like do so much, is because they're trying to unfuck up everything. Okay, well, why are we not doing the same?
100%. Yeah.
Why are we not fucking up everything? Yo, people, what are you talking about? Please tell me. What are you talking about?
Devin.
I definitely think we need a more progressive president. If it's one thing if he was around before desegregation and actually is making waves, but I don't see much improving. He was a part of the time during segregation. He was against the segregation. I don't trust him. I think
Who are you
Biden.
talking about?
Biden. He was against desegregating schools, and I've just seen like what people like. For example, my grandmother. What people are working towards. He acts like he's for it, but he's really not. Like he's just not there. And I feel like we need somebody that is a fresh face, that actually is conscious, that can look at both sides and take, okay, you got some good points, you got some good points, and corporate as a whole.
You don't want to look at both sides. You want to look at a progressive side. Progressives don't look at both sides. You're talking out of the side of your mouth right now. Progressives is all about the left side. They're the more unhinged side. Like Biden is more center left than a progressive. Progressives are not center left. They're not even close to the center. They're not looking at both sides.
Opposed to just pushing the 1%'s agendas.
Let's bring in our disagreeers.
Okay. So I want to jump in because I was able to jump in last time and I had a lot to say. I think that he's the most progressive president in his administration that we've had in a long time. Some would even argue more so than Obama. I'm not saying I argue that. I'm saying that has been said. He has the judicial bench, which is your federal appeals court, your federal district court, and obviously the Supreme Court, right? We all know he got Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, in there, and she's more than qualified, right? But what we also don't talk about enough is the fact that 75% of his appointees across the judicial bench are women. 65 of those are people of color. Now, you sparked a thought in me, sir, when you talked about the LGBTQ community. Well, President Biden actually has made it so LGBTQ folks can more readily serve in the military without having to go through all of this red unnecessary tape because they're citizens and they have that right. No other president has done that. Also putting them in the leading positions of government. No other president has done that. Full circle to this discussion, he does not act alone. Right? So when you say he's not progressive, there's things he's tried to push through, and he did not stack the court because he is trying to be bipartisan, right? Because then they're going to go back and stack the court. Now, to your...
She is cooking like crazy right now. Now, I didn't expect her to go into like the whole he's the most progressive president we've had. I'm still against a progressive president, but I agree with the idea that he will look at both sides, because her point with bipartisan is the exact same camp I'm with. But I didn't even take into consideration passing, because that's the point. Like, Biden will pass progressive values, right? He has done that, as she stated. He has done everything that we want. Oh, well, like me, I'm going to say we in this one, because I want representation. I want people's voices to be heard. Representation in government should be based off different things. So it's not just a more unitary demographic or unitary or monolithic ideal in the first place. So the fact that Biden is doing these things is great. I should have brought up more regarding like him doing progressive stuff. I'm just like, I don't want a president who considers himself like a left-wing progressive individual. But if you're passing progressive policies, I should have said something there. Yeah, I'm fine with you passing progressive policies. I don't want you to claim the progressive ideology, because all the progressives I met have been really radically left, and that's unhinged, and I'm not okay with that.
Point, sometimes you got to just play ball. So at the end of the day, I get it, but I am not willing to have a conservative court. Project 2025 is very, very real. He's not acting alone. There are other branches of government, and we need to exercise our right as citizens, and it is imperative during this election because we may not get another chance.
I also think it's really important that when people talk about like the Democrats need to go in and win because the Republicans are winning so much and we're not doing enough. I think it's easy sometimes to see when things are bad, but it's really hard sometimes to see when things are actually going in our favor. The Democratic Party has issues, and there are things that I think if you're more progressive, you should be pushing them on. If you're less progressive, you push them another way. But the Republicans are literally tearing tearing themselves apart. And it's hard from the left to see that. But for the first time in US history, you've got people that can't hold their speaker position in the House. That is tragic and hilarious at the same time. You've got I'm pretty sure he was the most popular man in media, maybe worldwide, Tucker Carlson, who gets fired from Fox News because he gets caught lying about basically rigging an election. And then there are leaked texts showing how unhappy he is with Donald Trump being the president. This is your largest man in conservative media that hates the fact that the president is the president. You've got things like January 6th occurring. You've got these felony indictments that he's both facing and been convicted on. You've got a Republican leadership that is praying, as much as you might not see it.
I can tell this video was made like way before the criminal immunity and obviously the assassination attempt, and maybe even before the Biden. No, there's no way this was made before the first presidential debate, because Destiny is so calm right now, and then everything that happens makes him absolutely unhinged.
They're praying for the day that Donald Trump is gone. You've got a man who was so vindictive in Georgia that he didn't support either of their runoff elections because he was so mad that Raffensperger wouldn't plot with him to overthrow the election. So even though it feels sometimes like we're always losing as Democrats, Republicans came in saying they were going to repeal and replace the ACA. They didn't manage to do it. They didn't replace anything. They might have repealed it a bit, but they didn't have that vote for McCain. They didn't pass any major legislation. They got their tax cuts, and that was it. The Trump administration was a failure. They didn't even get their border completely built. They didn't get the money from Mexico. They didn't get anything.
But even
that they
more
wanted
than
to have
focusing on what they didn't do, like, let's acknowledge what he has done. $400 million to climate change, like, that's important. In 50 years, if we don't stop messing up soil degradation, we're not going to be able to have
400 billion.
400 billion.
Yeah,
Thank you. No, thank you for correcting me. No, seriously, the largest ever in the president. Like, how much more progressive can you be?
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like we lose the discussion what progressivism is. You brought up the LGBTQ community. Human Rights Campaign goes through a whole like calendar timeline of him signing going against the license to discriminate that Trump put in, him putting in the Respect of Marriage Act that made same-sex couples tax code and benefits,
removing the Muslim ban,
and yeah, the citizenship for straight same-sex couples that get children from across border lines, that they now have citizenship. Even trans people.
I'll be very clear. I've said this already, and I'm gonna say it again. Joe Biden's presidency was very successful. It just was. You can lie to yourself as much as you want. You can let Trump skew all these narratives as much as you want. His
foster care, LGBT youth is protected more, and the ACA has been expanded to not discriminate against people seeking gender-affirming care. You have this DOJ taking Tennessee to court for their trans ban. I just don't know what we're looking at when we talk about progressivism anymore, with like clean water too, with the IRA, the infrastructure bill. There's so many of these things that we're talking about: clean drinking water, safe energy emission.
Still don't got clean drinking water.
And that's why he put it forth.
Exactly, $260 billion in investments.
Let's not go down that specific. I want to hear her.
I just want to state, I don't think that any of this is Biden in particular. I do not think that Biden is solely to blame. I'm not delusional enough to be like, oh.
She wasn't listening at all. She wasn't listening at all. She wasn't listening at all. They just named off so many things Biden has done that's been good for progressives, and her focus was, I don't think this is all Biden's fault. The response doesn't match the points being made. She wasn't listening. Oh my God.
Biden is the curse of all our problems any more than I think that Trump is the source of all of our problems. I think that Biden is a symptom of it.
I almost used a bad word, man. I don't like to use bad words, but there's no way she heard all the things they said about Biden and what he's done for progressive causes, and her immediate response is, I don't think Biden's as bad as the cause of all our problems, just like Trump. This is what I'm saying. This is why we don't need. This is why we don't need a progressive as president. This exact reason. Like, what are we talking about?
An issue that I'm seeing with the Democratic Party, in which we're not fighting hard enough, in my opinion, for specific policies that I'm very passionate about. I'm not saying that he has not made any sort of progress.
You can't say that because they literally explained he did. What was I thinking of? She just hopes Biden pass policies that she cares about. She doesn't care If they don't do it my way, then they're a bad president. That's basically what I'm hearing.
Yes, I actually do believe he has made a lot of progress, but the things that that I would like to have seen that would make me feel safer as an American in this country are things that I am not.
I can't even like. I'll just let it go.
Not currently
Rebecca,
seeing.
Can I ask you, because I think you might represent a large demographic of people who feel the same way. Can you share with us what some of those policies are? Because we know what he has done, but we don't know.
So for me personally, I'm seeing a lot of, for one, the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. That terrified me. And again, that's a moment.
Supreme Court overturning Roe versus. What do you want Biden to do about that? Is there something that he can do that I'm not aware of? Maybe they'll say it. Maybe they'll say it. Maybe they'll say it. Let me hear.
Moment where I don't hold Biden accountable for that. He's not the one who stacked the Supreme Court. That is also a problem of the Democratic Party. I do think that certain Democrats should have resigned before getting so sick that they died in office and leaving that position open for a Republican incumbent.
Well, the fact that you have lifetime appointments is problematic in itself.
Exactly, but that's another thing. Why are we not making changes to those kinds of policies? Because I am terrified.
So you want Biden to change something that's been put in place for a long time, which I don't even necessarily disagree with. I think we should take it out. But like, that's such an extreme change to something that's been implemented since the Constitution has been created. So that's so weird to blame Biden for. That's actually ridiculously weird. What?
Terrified of the fact that if there is a Republican candidacy and two people resign.
Her issue is just basically any president sucks because that's what it sounds like to me. As long as if the president that doesn't drastically change the country based off my personal beliefs, they're a terrible president. That's what I'm hearing.
We're stuck with those guys for life, and I don't feel as though I am safe as an American citizen.
You're not safe as an American citizen? How are you just here then? Shouldn't you just stay in your home? Hey, I'm being uncharitable for a reason. I understand her worries. Don't get me wrong. This is just like me venting out my frustration of people constantly complaining about every single thing. But like, I understand it. These people don't really know about. But how are you going to come on a panel? I'm less charitable. Okay, I'm charitable to the average person who doesn't know about politics and all their support is based surface level from memes and clips. Like, I think it's dumb to do it like that, but I understand because of how information is relayed to people needs to be much more practical and efficient. But people who go out their way to be informed and are still like have bad opinions, I can't be sympathetic to you. I'm not gonna lie.
And under that sort of rule, when they have already stated that there are policies against birth control, against gay marriage, against basically human rights that they are aiming to attack. And if it's the Supreme Court's decision, like, what the fuck are we going to do?
I think what bothers me, and I'm sorry, I'll let you go. I'll just make it quick. We always talk about like, oh, the Supreme Court, oh, ratifying, oh, why don't we have more votes? But I think the best way to empower voters, we talked about empowering Black voters, is to tell people when we're in the media, like this media space, what accomplishments he has made. And if we don't do that, if we just sit here dogging like, oh, he ate ice cream and he doesn't care about Israel, Gaza, I don't think that's going to do anything to help us get more seats. For the record. I understand, but you realize that joke is sent on Fox News 24/7, Fox and Friends, and I don't think it's a joke to the people who say Trump save us anymore. And I don't think it's a joke for people when we ask them, what's progressive policy do you want? I don't hear the joke anymore. Okay. And so I think instead of putting him down in every single turn, we can say, look, he has done this. Look, he has done that. We should go out and vote because of what he has done.
What you said was super valid, but 30 seconds, I jumped in with this is what he's done because what you said is so important.
Well, I think Biden's been awfully progressive. This is the first sitting president to walk the picket line. I mean, unions are a huge deal, and that's a big step from Biden. He tried to forgive $400 billion in student loans, got shut down by the Supreme Court. It came back the next day, and he's forgiven $160 billion for 5 million people, and that means a lot. Now, I think I voted for Bernie. I'm a progressive.
I'm also.
I voted for Bernie in the primary, but I warmed up to Biden because I value competence. Now, I realize you got to bring all these people together. People don't understand how this Senate and this House of Representatives work. We need competent people. And I honestly think Biden has taken us forward, and the progressives have had an impact on him. So keep the pressure up, but get behind the man.
And don't
get
let
behind
the
leader.
media polarize you. You have to do your own research, and you have to learn what he's actually done.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm so gracious and so great. I'm so grateful that you said what you said, as far as like, you know, when we say certain rhetoric, it doesn't help, because I had to educate myself. I said, what has he done? Because you might surmise at this point, I'm not just going to give anybody anything, but I'm also not going to take anything if the person is deserving of it. And he,
you know, I need to meet someone like her, bro. You know, this is what I appreciate: the ability to recognize that I'm not informed and go out of your way to try to get things done. I respect that. I respect that, man.
He has been by far the most progressive president. I did not know that, so I wasn't educated. I thought I wasn't aware of that. And I have no problem saying that, because the minute we start acknowledging that we don't know everything, then we can start learning. And the reality is, he is the most progressive president.
So in the same token, that where you can celebrate his wins, I agree 100%. Is that you have to be realistic with what he's done, with the progression he's made in terms of legislation. Like you mentioned way earlier in the beginning of this video, is that we've seen legislation that Trump in his 4 years couldn't have imagined of passing. Specifically the infrastructure bill, which he tried to do. I just think that at the same time that I don't necessarily like the idea, and I'm not saying any of you have posed it forward, of pulling any punches because of the overarching, you know, fear of Republicans taking it. So that's my only point, is that I'll celebrate his wins because it's facts.
But why not restrict that to the primary? Primary's over. It's time to get behind Biden.
I just would go along with the idea that maybe it can help progress forward as well. Is that where we can make enough of a noise?
No, he's just chatting. What are you talking about? What are you progressing forward if you're not supporting Biden? This is the primary. Like, what are we doing?
Is about what we need better from him, whilst again being fair in what and celebrate what he's done.
So besides Palestine, what do you think we need better from him?
I think we need the idea of consistency amongst his administration. So when we go and we see that he's being kind of positively ambiguous about the Israeli proposed ceasefire deal, and we're hearing that the UN representative of Israel is saying that we're going to continue this on. So like, I don't know about any ceasefire deal that he's talking about, we're going to continue. So that's kind of the idea, is that I don't see a really set, justified, solid position from the administration that's kind of collaborating with the Israeli position.
I think that when people talk about Biden too, I think the feeling that the pro-Biden people get sometimes is they wish that the Biden, I don't know if say detractors or people that are trying to push him more, would speak about like Biden and instead of Biden but. So saying that I really think that Biden is doing a decent job as a president, and I wish that he would do more for these particular issues, rather than I really like Biden as a president, but he hasn't done anything for XYZ. Like, there's only so much that he can do. You're sending the man into the arena with only a shield, a 50-person Senate, and you're expecting him to accomplish miracles. And the reality is, if you really want to see what a fully unleashed Biden looks like, you've got to get him more votes in the Senate. It would be so important to see what he can actually do for the country.
And that's on us as the people.
Look, I'm willing to admit.
Devin wanted to.
I want to say, you guys can say what you want. You can judge me if you want. And I know it's going to come down between Biden and Trump. I'm not voting. And I know that you can say whatever you want to judge me.
Yo, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm not voting. Like, okay, your stance means what? See the people like this, man? They want things done. You spell out everything that you want done that it aligns with your beliefs more so, but still, because they ain't doing it like you want them, it don't matter. It's like, what are we doing, man?
Me, we're either way, in my opinion. So, like, honestly, I hope Jill Stein will get a chance, which she won't, because the 1% runs the world. But I don't have faith in either one of them. I cannot, in good faith.
Devin, why are you here then?
I know. Because I am Democrat originally, but I want to see the party grow. But I really hope that a miracle can happen.
I have to just say,
the World Economic Forum and Big Pharma got their hands in everything.
Devin, I appreciate you responding to my assertion. And then I cut you off.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Wow, you're good at your job. Yeah, I was going to say, no, I'm willing to admit it's an emotional thing for me. You know what I mean? It's because of very specific treatment I have faced when I was a kid. Just being out and about, I've had some really nasty shit. I've had my life threatened, that kind of stuff. So I'm willing to admit it's emotional for me. I'm not going to be looking at it, sort of what Muhammad was saying, examining my biases. I'm not going to be able to look at it from a completely three-dimensional, fair perspective. But what is it? I'm sorry, I don't know. It being discriminated as a no, but what is it keeping you from? What's the question? I'm sorry.
What are you looking at? What can't you look at fairly?
Yeah, what can't you look at fairly?
Oh, just like the issue as a whole, I suppose. If Biden if we need someone more progressive, or if he's progressive enough.
But don't you think that's kind of selfish?
Do I think it's selfish to use my experiences to
affect
express my opinion?
Well, to affect?
That's your vote, right?
I think if more people were honest with themselves, everyone votes from a somewhat emotional perspective.
That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Because, and that's just, as much as we all want to be like, oh, I'm non-biased, I'm non-partisan, I'm non-this, non-that. Right. We all come from an emotional perspective. He's just being very upfront about it.
You guys
that is irrelevant, I'm gonna be honest. Voting, especially in the primary, you want the best candidate, right? So your emotional outburst is irrelevant at this point. Vote the best candidate. Keep the other candidate out. I hate the voting system. I want an alternate voting system. Of course I do. I've been advocating for star voting for a very long time, but that's kind of irrelevant, right?
Made some very excellent points, so I'm just making the point that you're right. I am emotional about it, and I probably can't examine.
I can't speak for everyone who is not who is anti-Biden. I just want to say that for me, being anti-Biden does not mean I am not voting. I think that voting is an extremely important part of democracy. And just because I am anti-Biden does not mean I will not be voting for progressive people lower, because I think that it is the lower, more.
But those down ballot individuals have endorsed Biden, like Bernie and AOC.
I'm aware that they have.
And so how can you know better? Do you feel that you?
I'm not saying I know better.
Don't you think they know what's best for this country? These people are in the system.
He's being a little aggressive. Back up, buddy. She really doesn't know what she's talking about. So she's trying to get her feelings. This is what I noticed, and I'm being harsh too, but it's that's what I'm saying. It requires self-reflection, man. It does. It really does. So I have to constantly self-reflect and try to really get into the people's mindset to, you hand out an olive branch. In the moment, it's hard for people to completely change their mind. But what you got to do is put enough doubt into their mind for them that allows them to reflect. Now, some people don't reflect, but you got to hope that they do reflect from the points that are being mentioned, and they consider that their point of view is flawed to an extent. Now, if you keep on pushing them, then they're going to not even consider reflecting anything you said, because their initial emotional response is that everything you said is outcasted from their brain. They remove it because it's somewhat of a negative stimuli, right? So you always got to keep that in mind.
But I am saying that they don't know my morals. It's from an emotional spot where I am saying that I cannot get behind him.
We've been on this prompt for too long, so we have to move on.
Okay. The shooting at Trump's rally will change the course of the election. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Oh, this happened. Oh no, this is.
I don't wish that he died.
But you just said that you'd be happy if he did. I don't condone violence, but I hope.
This is going to be a terrible video because these progressive lefties are not going to know. Is there anybody smart on this side?
Someone out there loves it.
Wait, hold on, Alex. Repeat that again.
I want you guys to both say this out loud, very clearly.
Wait, what did you just say?
I said I don't condone violence, but I hope I see something.
What does that mean?
Why are you bringing? What is he talking about? These people just don't be chatting.
Agreeers, step forward.
Israel, Palestine.
Never heard for you.
Yeah, so I take this issue pretty seriously because I am a first-generation Palestinian American. Both my parents are Palestinian, and I just think that we go and it's nice to specify terms into what's actually happening, what's going on. But regardless, I more want to talk about the response as opposed to what's going on in general. There's the Israeli-Gaza war. I think that the Biden response has been disastrous. I just feel as though that Biden's administration is not really on the same page when it comes to making statements even about the Israeli-Gaza war, where we have such a confident Biden come up and talk about an Israeli-led ceasefire proposal. And then just 4 days later, 5 days later, you have the UN representative of Israel saying they vow to continue the war. And so it's almost as if, I know that the situation in Israel in terms of their government is already fractured, is already at an all-time high, tensions in the street. You have probably the most active street protest that Tel Aviv has ever seen. It's just interesting to see the inaction of the Biden administration trying to, I guess, kind of put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. That's the best way I can describe it, where you have the pier being built and then you have airdrops going on. But really, I think that the U.S. has the pull internationally to put an end to it and to get the hostages home and then to also just stop the civilian casualties that we're seeing in Gaza.
I would say Biden's cavalier attitude about the whole thing is also very obnoxious to me. There's this video of him standing in he's always standing in the weirdest places, but he was standing in an ice cream shop, literally licking an ice cream cone. And these reporters like, Mr. President, how about that ceasefire, man? And he's like, it's like Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. And he's like, maybe next Monday.
He said, should be coming
next. Yeah, and then he gets asked later that week, I think that Thursday or that Friday, and he was like,
we're still Israel.
Probably not Monday. So that to me speaks volumes. I think it's obnoxious. It's not the type of leader I can look up to. And again, I am not necessarily politically educated enough to put a very specific label on it, but I know it's certainly not right. I know that when Israel started attacking Gaza, the population was 40% children. And I say was because I'm willing to bet it's a lot less now. So yeah, I don't necessarily know that I'd use the word genocide just because, again, I wouldn't say I'm not going to use that. I'm not informed enough. I want to make sure.
Yeah, I can't really put.
It's interesting that he tries to qualify everything that he's saying, but he's still passionate about what he's saying. I find that very interesting. How can you be so confident and so emotionally attached to something you don't even believe, you don't even feel confident in saying? It's so interesting.
It's wrong. A hard foot down on saying that this is the legal basis that it needs, the international legal basis.
The international legal, like the not the UN,
ICC,
but the ICC has agreed that it is a genocide.
Crimes against humanity.
They also
that Israel's plausibly committing genocide. It's a good she said that and I was like, I don't think they said that, but they are. They got warrants.
Several years ago, I believe it was the ICC, but I may be wrong, also labeled Israel an apartheid state a long time ago. And I don't think it's asking for too much.
I think a lot of she probably got her information from social media. So
just ask Biden to say like, hey, genocide, bombing civilians, not cool.
Chemical warfare.
Like, how hard is it to just say that is wrong?
Saying is not enough. Funding the war, it doesn't matter if he says, oh, I support all the innocent children in Gaza. As long as they're sending money to Ukraine, as long as they're sending money to Israel, I don't know what money they're contributing to what's going on in Congo. I have to further look into it if I can speak on that. But as long as he and the administration is giving hundreds of millions of our tax dollars to these corrupt countries or places. You can't even call Israel a country, a state. But Biden can.
What? You just be chatting. You can't call Israel a country? Ukraine is corrupt? What?
Continuously.
Okay.
Keeps letting them, if you're so against it, stop the money. Go to Congress, try to have the money stop being sent there for war. They put a dock there in Gaza. The humanitarian aid they're giving them is not even real food. They're giving them bullshit. If you really cared about the people, he would treat them better. He wouldn't just sit there and look like a fucking retard and go smell kids all day.
Kind of what you talked about earlier in the earlier prompt about trusting the administration. There are facets where you trust an administration, but kind of the inconsistency is what I can't go based on. That's what I take my trust from, is consistency, whether it's a personal relationship or trusting your politicians. And so when it comes to Biden moving a red line, saying that, okay, I mean a ground invasion in Rafah is what's going to stop me from sending over new ammunitions or new munitions to Israel. And then we see that an Israeli tank, a video is being posted of them going straight through the Gaza entrance sign. It's hard for me to conceptualize any idea that this is going to stop under this administration.
Mhm.
I just have a tough time believing it.
I agree.
Let's bring in our disagreeers. Whoever wants to jump in.
I think that the situation in Gaza and Israel is incredibly complicated. I think that the issue when people talk about supporting a genocide or not is they want to make it seem like there is like one obvious answer or one obvious way to escape that situation. And the reality is that accepting an immediate ceasefire, even if the hostages do come back, but leaving an entity in charge of a region that just committed like the largest terrorist attack in the history of your country, probably a deal that no other country in the world would ever be expected to accept.
So let's keep giving them hundreds of millions of dollars every
Well, we should.
Sarcastically speaking.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
Yeah, I don't.
So I think
it was
that
your kids and
I
your
think
kids.
that
Stephen.
yeah, if my kids were in Israel, I wouldn't want them being rocketed every single day from the Gaza Strip either.
But do you
Gaza's
think
not
that
doing
there,
that.
not to cut you off in the
Gaza does
middle
do
of your
that,
statement,
yes.
but do you think that there's been a change in narrative, at least from Biden's administration and from Israeli officials, about whether it's returning the hostages or completely eliminating Hamas? Do you think that there's just kind of like how we have Ukraine, I'm sure is probably going to come up too, about what is the aim in this war? And then how can we prevent just civilian casualties in general along with ending a war? Because this can't continue. It can't keep going on.
I think that the aim from the beginning was probably the elimination of Hamas. Obviously, the administration, Netanyahu's administration, his government, they're going to talk about saving the hostages, but it's pretty clear the way they're conducting the war that the goal is probably going to be to remove Hamas as the governing body in that region.
And do you think that that's a goal that's been attainable so far?
I mean, they've caused a lot of damage to the organization.
But then we see in the north of Gaza that there's resurgence of fighting, and that so you've made your way down the Gaza Strip to the south, and there's still resurgence of fighting, and so it's not being eradicated in the rate that we're being told, or even if you want to take
I mean, we won't truly know until the war is officially over, the IDF is withdrawn, and then we see.
So how does it end if Hamas doesn't get eradicated? You know, so
well, I mean, eradication could mean a lot of different things. It could mean that they've lost so much. They've lost so much capability that another organization is able to take over. It could be that the PA or the PLO is brought back in, and somehow they're able to govern. It could be that the IDF has some temporary administration there for a few months while it's handed over to another
group. It just seems tough to allow civilian casualties to go on.
How many civilian casualties are enough for it to be like, oh, we're done?
This is time for a ceasefire.
Why do the Israeli hostages look better than all the Palestinian children? All the Israel hostages that are being released have gained weight. I've seen them starving every day and eating fucking animal feed. Yes, I have. I follow journalists in Palestine. Follow Elizabeth. No, she's a journalist. That's Palestinian. That stays there instead of leaving to document every.
Like, what is she doing here? I'm gonna be honest. People like her it's impossible to have a productive conversation. She won't change her mind. She's just going to yell at you. She doesn't really care about your opinion. She thinks that she's right. She thinks her morals are the absolute correct decision. These type of people are impossible to have conversations with. Absolutely.
Every single day I watch it and see children being blown up, being women raped and everything. Don't say it's not happening, because it is.
We've been hearing for 6 months.
No, sir.
Everybody, I just want to pause for a second.
I don't care.
We know that there are strong opinions on this issue.
Say it's not happening is ridiculous.
Let's just all take a collective breath.
Yes, sir.
And then we can pick back up where we left off. Devin, if you want to make a point, and then we can move.
Sorry, it's like saying the Holocaust didn't happen. It's the same bird, different wing. It's a different situation. If you think what's going on with the Holocaust is wrong, and you don't think what's going on with Palestine is wrong, you're a hypocrite. Point blank. Period.
I think if the
comparing the Holocaust, what's going on in Israel Palestine is so crazy to me, man. But like I said, she has an opinion. She doesn't really care about other people's opinions.
Jews started attacking Hitler with missiles that we were being armed by Hitler's missiles. We could say that probably, but at the same time, we're putting so much of the precedent onto the IDF when Hamas enjoys support from the Palestinian people.
As a Jewish
but you were talking before. I feel like
I apologize. I shouldn't have.
I just think that we should be able to put some responsibility into the Palestinian people's hands. You say eradication, like how do we eradicate them? It doesn't have to be a military objective. There has to be a way to meet in the middle ground.
They've offered proposals.
That's kind of what I'm going off.
But do you think Hamas is coming where they're operating civilian areas, where they're the ones sending rockets, where they went into a rave and took hostages and raped and killed them? Do you think that they're?
I'm not here to justify the actions of any political party. I'm speaking from a humanitarian.
Well, Hamas isn't a political party; they're a terrorist group. PLO is the political party that we recognize.
Separate from their two factions of different entities. My point in saying that was that I'm not in support of anyone in this situation. I'm in support of needless lives dying.
Right.
So my point is that onus, accountability, action, everything like that. How do we prevent people who don't need to be dying from dying is my point.
Do we prevent that by not funding our allies when they get terrorist attacked?
The point is that is there a limit? Is there an objective? Like how I would say about the Ukraine, which I'm in full support of against a Russian invasion, is that we need to have an objective that's attainable as opposed to continuing war.
How many civilians is acceptable to you, Mohammed?
I think no civilian is acceptable.
So that's why war. This is an existential threat.
So that's what I'm saying. And so at this point, do you think that Hamas has the same capability to cause another October 7th as they were?
Hamas has the capability not to hide within the civilian population and use them as shields. Don't you have any comments about that at all?
I do. I will never support anyone putting civilians in harm's way.
So you should be hyper focused on Hamas and the harm they're putting these civilians into.
So my point is being hyper focused on what I think will cause the most civilian casualties. And so that is the war continuing. So when I know that one party is
this war ends right now if Hamas gives up the hostages and
I don't think so. Is that the aim? Is the war's aim to get back the hostages? Because if it is,
you won't shut up.
I think the war will end tomorrow with all the hostages.
I think the issue is people. I think it's short-sighted to say that like if the war happens now and civilians are dying, this is a bad thing that needs to stop. Because arguably, if in 2008 for Cast Lead, if they would have eliminated Hamas then, it would have been less civilian casualties. But people would have said the same thing in 2014 for Protective Edge if they would have eliminated Hamas.
So there's an overarching problem.
I'm just saying that there is a problem right now. One of the big problems is Hamas, but obviously there's more than
there's more to.
But I'm saying that like if they don't eliminate Hamas now, then what? Do we get another attack in 2025 or in 2030 or in 2035, and then the attack will be even bigger, the population will be even bigger.
But let's put metrics on what the success of eliminating Hamas is. And so do you think that it's been going well so far in that when you eliminate someone, you kind of root them out from where they're coming from? And so the approach from the beginning of the war was a systematic approach from the north to the south. Mm-hmm. And now they've made it all the way down to the southernmost part of Gaza. And then you still see fighting and resurgence happening in the north. Well, so my point is that if we don't have an aim in this, then when is it going to stop?
Didn't we just get some hostages, like some civilians, like a couple of days ago?
And it resulted in apparently it reported it resulted in the death of 3 hostages.
I understand that, but you're asking me what is the aim, and we're trying to focus on the aim. But then you're saying, oh well, we can't have this aim because it led to this catastrophe. At what point in war will?
I'm saying those
guys, we've covered your disagreement. Let's pull in Sierra.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm very curious on her opinion because she came up first. The situation regarding Hamas or Israel and Palestine is very complicated, of course. And I understand the humanitarian aspect of like people's lives are lost, but I feel like, and listen to me, I'm be very clear. I don't expect the average person to be able to conceptualize the idea of warfare. Yeah, I don't expect that. And it's irrational for people to expect that. Like, I don't at all. I prefer people who are more humanitarian, to be honest, especially when we're looking at like conflicts around the world. People who have the more humanitarian mindset is better. But those people are the same people that should never have a position of power because they won't be able to make the hard decisions. So as long as we recognize this, that's what's important. But you'll never be able to convince them because they can. It's just like when people have this kind of fight or flight instinct, you won't know what you would do until you're in the situation. So it's the same principle.
You know, I appreciate everyone's contributions, and I'm really big on listening because at the end of the day, you don't really know your position unless you've heard someone else's.
She's a big
That being said, someone just stated that there is an overarching problem, and I think there is a higher overarching problem. This is my opinion. Now, people may like this, they may not. All the way around here in this circle. For me, personally, I came and sat down because when it comes to what the question was, does President Biden support genocide? He is a seated president right now, and there is a genocide happening, and we are contributing to it. However, overall, right? And there's a lot I can argue about. You know, I think it's integrous that we push people to Rafah and then we don't stand to what we said on the line? Yeah, I have feelings about that. Do I think that, to John's point, there's a lot of tone deafness? Yes, I have feelings about that. Historically, however, our country has been involved in these type of things for a very long time. And I believe no matter who was in office, like I said earlier, be it a Democrat or a Republican, and most certainly Trump, I don't think we would see a different result. And that's when we as an American people have to ask ourselves why that is and how would we like to move forward? Because I'm about moving forward. And historically, we can go back and forth about the logistics of what's going on. They are our allies. But when we talk about a genocide, there are millions of people dying in the Congo. And I'm going to continue to say that. But nobody's talking about it because the Congo that they're dying for is going in our cell phones. So if we're going to be so morally upset, like you.
Yo. I'm be honest. Whoever marries this girl, you better not break her heart. We got another politician right here. She is cooking. She's absolutely cooking. Cooking a 10-course meal. I don't even know that exists. She's cooking. I appreciate her perspective. She's absolutely. She has a lot of good points. I'm gonna be honest. She might be able to handle conversations better than me. No, I'm gonna say it. No. She does handle conversations better than me. Important ones, because I troll a lot, but in important conversations, I don't troll. Well, depends on the conversation. But her patience, her listening, her ability to reflect on the values that she upholds, but also understand the circumstances that have taken place, and the demeanor, having the combination of calm and aggressive, not also having the ability to understand when you don't understand something. There's a lot of characteristics that are, the people like to say, green flags. There's a lot of green flags here.
You can see that footage,
So you're saying
but
it's selective
historically,
outrage.
if it's not people of a certain color, we don't care as much. So if you're gonna be outraged, let's be outraged all the way around, but let's also realize that whether it's the Congo, whether it's Gaza, this is our thing. This is what we do. And how do we want to not do that? And we need to talk about a solution as the people, because our tax dollars are funding all of it.
I think we understand there's a lot of disagreement about what's going on in Gaza right now. Who in the circle leading up to the 2024 election, is this your most important issue?
For me, in context of everything I expressed, yes.
Partially, yeah. So it's about a tie for me. So I'll say yes, but it's a tie.
And also, this is something that I feel like I was going to talk about in regards to Biden as a candidate. And I know he's the incumbent and everything, but a movement of the uncommitted movement kind of sparked up around predominant Arab American communities, where you had in a swing state like Michigan, which predicted the last two elections, whoever won Michigan won the last two elections, where 100,000 people wrote uncommitted over citing reasons of the Gaza war. So I think that as a whole, this is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be reflective of what his constituents believe. And so not necessarily going into force of action this way, force of action this way, but this is a hot topic issue for a lot of people and a lot of places that matter. When an election of 340 million people comes down to a couple 100,000 votes on swing states and getting that to win the electoral vote,
And again,
I think it matters.
But Biden won Michigan by 250,000 votes.
That's what I'm saying, is that, and across
100,000 voting uncommitted, it's not going to do it.
No, I mean, that's raw numbers, but these are people who are citing that they're voting uncommitted because of citing this, but 250,000 people across 6 different states pledged to vote uncommitted for it, along with areas in Chicago and all that. So that's kind of what I meant.
Are you willing to risk a conservative Supreme Court for 40 years?
For this issue, I feel like
for this issue?
For this issue, I feel like
really a conservative Supreme Court for 40 years, shutting down every single progressive legislation that passes, Medicare for all, any sort of
Roe v. Wade,
anything you guys want, everything's going to get shut down.
This one, it's been shot down already, like she mentioned, for Roe v. Wade. But
I feel like these people just don't have bigger vision. Like, there's no way that you're so willing, because of this one issue, even though conservatives would do exactly the same thing Biden did, but probably even worse, because the right are much more advocates of Israel than the left is. There's no way you go like, I'm not going to support Biden because of it. Like, bigger picture, like, oh man, it's so tough. It's so tough. It's so tough. But no, I at this point, I can't sympathize with him because he understands the bigger picture. Like I'm going into his mindset. He understands the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is not a right wing president. For his point of view, it's not. He's informed. He understands. Like his logic is stupid. It just is. It. But okay, I gotta reel it in, boys. I gotta reel it in. I just lock in, lefties. Lock in, man. Lock in.
Point is that I feel like this is impossible for me not to care about this issue so much at this point, is that I'm from Palestinian origin. I have a Palestinian citizenship as well. So this is integral to me because this is the issue that I care about the most when it comes to American politics. What can I do as a taxpayer, as someone who is educated in this land, who provides patient care in this land? What can I do in terms of knowing my heritage and then being a Democrat?
I think it's worth saying too, real quick, just because I heard it said earlier, like whether or not there is or isn't a genocide happening is still something that's hotly contested, even in the international community. I heard it said earlier that the ICC and the ICJ decided that it was. That's not true. These are still things that are being hotly contested, even within the ICC, even within the ICJ. We're not going to know the actual answer to that for some number of years. So if that's like your determining factor on this particular thing, I'd say if you're.
That's why I said that I didn't want to go into the terms because I'm not an international rights lawyer.
We also have to.
But Guy, can you elaborate on what you're trying to say?
I'm saying if Trump wins, if we risk it and Trump wins, I guarantee Justice Thomas and Alito are going to retire, and Trump will replace them with 35-year-old justices that make Brett Kavanaugh look like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So you will live under conservative rule, and the Supreme Court has the ultimate say in this land. So it doesn't matter what.
Posing the answer to that question, I think for everyone else who raised their hand when they said, "Is this the most hot button topic?" You'll get a more solid answer as opposed to someone who is extremely biased on this topic, who still has family members overseas. For people who I know personally who've been on the ground in Gaza, for NGOs and humanitarian. So I'd give you an answer that you don't want to hear. I'd give you an answer that I would be, because I would want this to end. Because I'm being honest about my biases.
I will say to your point.
Okay, let's not looking at you're not looking at the bigger picture. Just because you admit that you're not thinking doesn't excuse you're not thinking. Like just because you admit you're doing something dumb doesn't excuse the fact that you're doing something dumb. Like, yeah, all right, buddy.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah,
that was good clarification. Our next prompt: Biden's health is poorer than Trump's. Will the agreeers step forward?
Was that health as in like health?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's pretty obvious that Joe Biden is an old man.
Biden is not running, so this question doesn't really matter. I'm skipping. Wait, does this go into? Wait, I think. Oh no, there's one more. As a chance to win the election. Oh no, he's dropping out, so that question doesn't matter. And that's the final question. Okay, I can end this. All right, appreciate everybody who's watching this video. Like and subscribe. I'll try to be bye U.S. Empire, down the toilet. We might still be all right. Shout out America, you feel me? All right, let me end this, and then I'll do one more stream. It is 1:30. I have to wake up and work out, go to the gym.